Introduce and bring on stage the moderator of the next segment of the plenary, Stacey Palmer. Ms. Palmer served as top editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy since its founding in 1988. She appears frequently on radio and television to offer commentary on news in the nonprofit world. She's the editor of Challenges for Philanthropy and Nonprofits, and she wrote a great article for the Chronicle published this morning on the new SIF intermediaries. We're very pleased to have her with us today. Thank you.
And I am joined by a terrific panel that's going to come up and visit me on the stage. So would you please come up? And I'll introduce you to them as they come up. I'd like to sit over here. First, I want to congratulate the Social Innovation Fund on making it to 5 years. It's a pleasure in Washington to be talking about what works, since so much of the time we don't talk about that very much because we don't have many examples of it. But here we have something. And what I love about this panel, and a great way to introduce you to the Social Innovation Fund, is that they're putting what they talk about into action by proving what works, by showing you the people who have benefited from some of the programs. And I really want to tell you that these speakers have been very courageous, I think, to come up and tell their stories to all of us. So let me thank you before we even start, because I'm delighted to have you here. You all have terrific stories to tell about programs that really worked and really made a difference. And I think we can all say that it matters so much when we hear these stories to remind us the risk of when things don't work and when things don't go well in the nonprofit world. So let me have a chance to speak with each of you. On my we have Angelina Delhito, and this is Robin Smith, and this is Kaneka Duncan. Robin Thomas. I'm so sorry. I must know a Robin Smith. I apologize because I was not looking at my notes, so I can't prove what works. We're going to start with you, Angelina. You represent a group that has been working here in Washington called Youth Connects, and we all know that that transition to adulthood is really challenging for many, many young people. And this is a terrific collaboration. Venture Philanthropy Partners is working with organizations like Latin American Youth Center and Year Up, and many, many other organizations here in the DC area to help young people get their start and really make that transition. Angelina, you had your own experience in this world. When you first sought help, I believe you were facing a pretty tough situation. You were homeless and abused and had a pretty difficult life. And I appreciate your willingness to talk openly about that. Can you talk to us a little bit about what the program at Latin American Youth Center meant to you? It's called Promoter Pathways, and it's an intensive mentorship program. Tell us a little bit about it and how that helped you get through high school.
The LAYC Promotor Pathway Program is a program for youth that need case management, long-term support and like a mentor. And they helped me get through school. I needed to get my high school diploma by just kind of being that support system that I didn't have, someone to talk to and providing with resources for myself and my son. I was navigating my way out of an abusive relationship at home. So my promotor really helped me. I was very depressed and just feeling very alone. And so she was the rock that I needed that I didn't have at the time.
Excellent. And then I believe you were the beneficiary of another program through the Year Up program, which is another really innovative effort that works. And that helped you in college. Could you talk a little bit about that program as well?
Yes. So the Year Up program was introduced to me by my promotor, actually. I had gone to school. But I felt like it really wasn't the right school for me. It was a brand new school at UDC. So she gave me another option that could help me get to my goals of continue my education. And it was the Year Up program, which would provide me with college credit, a corporate work experience at an internship, and also a stipend because I was looking to support myself and my son. So she helped me apply for the program. And she helped navigate that whole process for me. It was a very extensive admissions process, so she helped me with that.
And where was it that you were working?
In my internship, I was at Freddie Mac for my internship.
And how did that help you get to where you're going to have a job, I believe, at the Food and Drug Administration. What are some of the skills that you learned by that internship?
I think first and foremost, the Europe program helped me professionally and how to conduct myself in a corporate environment. I think that was the most important because I soon found a job at the EPA because of what I was able to put on my resume after that. So I'm starting a new job soon at the FDA, which kind of just based on what I learned at the EPA, which is what they like. So it really helped me on just so many different levels.
That's excellent. Can you talk about the power of these programs together? What difference did they make in your life?
I am very grateful to both of these programs. The Year Up has helped me professionally. This pushed me as a young adult stepping into the workforce so I can be the person that my son needs to support me and myself financially. And having my promotor in that program, it was wonderful because I had a lot of dark days, and having her there to push me and just be that support that I needed. She was like an angel on my shoulder. So having both of them, having them each in my corner, believing in me even though I was depressed and I didn't believe in myself, I think has really helped me get to where I needed to be today.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate hearing your story. The next program we're going to hear about promotes home ownership, and we all know that that has been a really complicated yet vitally important area for Americans as we look to pursue the American dream to build assets and to have a great community and build neighborhoods. Kaneka Dunson, and I've asked you how to pronounce your name 3 times and messed it up each time. I'm not doing well on names today. We're going to just keep it to very simple ones. I apologize. But what you're going to do is do something which is a lot better than dealing with your name. The most complicated part of explaining the program that you participate in is explaining something called the shared equity model in home ownership. And I was wondering if you can talk to us about what that means. How did it help you buy your home?
Yes, okay, so the City First Homes shared equity program is built on the concept of paying it forward. So it's a home ownership program that is essentially pays it forward. The challenge in Washington, D.C., like many cities, is how to keep housing affordable when prices continue to rise, and how to keep those homes affordable for low to moderate income workers like teachers, firefighters, and public sector workers such as myself. With City First Homes, the goal is to create a lasting stock of affordable homes. In my case, I obtained a low-interest fixed-rate loan, and that greatly increased my purchasing power. So I was able to go out into Washington, D.C., in Ward 5, where I am now, and get a great home. When it comes time for me to sell my house, that's when I pay it forward by sharing the equity with the next buyer, sharing a portion of the equity with the next buyer. So when we set the price to sell the home, instead of that next buyer in the City First program paying that full market rate, their purchase price is effectively reduced because I have shared a portion of the equity, and that's what lowers the price, and that's what keeps the home affordable.
Excellent. I know that you looked at a lot of other programs as you were looking to think about buying a house. What was the problem with them, and what made this one stand out for you?
You know, first and foremost, I'm really happy to have gone with City First Homes because it got me to where I wanted to be, which is in a home. But I did initially have some hesitation about the program, the shared equity model. Other home ownership programs give you assistance on the front end to simply buy the house. With this case, you're sharing the equity. So I'm thinking, why would I share the equity? Why am I not thinking initially just about me and my own home ownership transaction? But after weighing all the options, weighing my finances, wanting to make a sensible purchase, looking at what City First Homes offered, the opportunity to get an affordable home, and also the benefits of home ownership, it made the most sense for me. But what I really enjoyed about City First Homes is the partnership. City First Homes partners with the homeowner. They are very invested in getting a good quality home and also making the homeowners be successful. So I enjoyed their partnership from the beginning process all the way to closing. They were there to answer every question about the process, the program, answer questions about education, about the home ownership process. They have a secondary inspection, which is very important because they want to ensure that this is a great home for myself and for the next person. They were also there for closing. With home ownership, I felt like going through the home process, there are probably 100 things that could go wrong. 97 of them happened to me. It was very tedious. It was a very stressful process, and David, who I worked closely with, our stewardship manager, had to talk me back several times. So that emotional support was also great for me, and I enjoyed the partnership. And also knowing that when it's time for me to sell the house, that they're going to be there, that they're interested in making this a successful transaction for the next homeowner.
Thank you. You're also on the advisory committee, I believe. You're spreading the word. Can you tell us about how it's affecting people in your neighborhood and that community benefit of this model?
Well, the real community benefit, I think, is that you're going to have a lasting stock of homes. I joined the advisory board because after being a part of the program, I really do think it's a great concept. It keeps homes affordable, and I think for me, I bought a home, and 2 years later, my mortgage now is less than the rent that I was paying. So that's a big deal, and I think to share that, to let people know that you can get into an affordable home in Washington, D.C., that programs are available, and being in communities where you feel connected is a great value in a community. I'm happy to be in the community that I'm in. I like my neighbors most of the time. And now I like being I'm very aware of being a conscious steward of this home, knowing it's going on to the next person, and I hope that in the same way that the home has been great for me, it's going to be great and also affordable for the next buyer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your story. I appreciate it. The third program we're highlighting focuses on fighting AIDS, and as we all know, this continues to be a deep problem, especially in communities like the Washington area. Robin has experienced this firsthand, both as somebody who tested HIV positive just after you'd had your third child, is that correct?
When I was expecting my third child, 17 years ago, I tested HIV positive. Yeah, devastating. It really was.
And you're working now as a community health advocate, and I believe when you first got your diagnosis, you didn't have the advantage of a program like this. Can you explain what it is that you do now as a community advocate?
Well, working as a community health educator, my site is with Milwaukee Health. I'm so grateful for AIDS United and all of the people that are responsible for this program existing, because being diagnosed was very devastating, and it was a lot of depression for several years, and a lot of people don't overcome that. You know, they are diagnosed HIV positive, but they die of AIDS, but mostly the result of it is depression. They never recover. So I'm always aware of that, and my job is to help recapture the lost to care and also partner with newly infected people. So I'm always aware of how I felt and what my struggles were when I'm trying to reach out to clients, and that's why I think, you know, I'm passionate about what I do. I want to be the support system that I didn't have when I was diagnosed, because there was no community health educators at that time.
Can you tell us about some of your experiences with some of the clients that you've worked with? How is it that you've helped them?
Well, our job is to try to help them overcome whatever barriers that they need to in order to become adherent to medications. And, you know, that is a myriad of reasons why. A lot of times it could be stigma, shame. They don't want anybody to know. Could be drug addiction, mental health, just so many reasons. And I've, you know, encountered some of, you know, all of them. But I just tell a couple of little short stories. I had a client who had been out of care for over a year, and I finally connected with her, and she came in and we sat down and we talked, and she decided she was going to start meds again because she wasn't doing so well, and you know, her numbers were not really good. We should all know that if you have a CD4 count of 200 or less, it's considered being diagnosed with AIDS, and her numbers were under 200. So she decided she was going to start medication, and she did. And so after 3 months, her numbers wasn't looking as good as they should. She kept saying, "Ms. Robin, I'm taking my medication." So on the 6-month visit, she came in and she still wasn't undetectable and her T cells hadn't risen to a healthy amount. So I had asked her, I said, what's really going on? She said, well, I'm just going to be honest, Miss Robert, I drink on the weekends. She said, so I don't take my medication Friday night or Saturday night because I drink, you know. And so we talked about it. It was a real story. So we talked about it, and the new information is you can still, we always want to tell people that it's, you know, good not to drink, but if you have to drink, then you need to take your medications differently. And so what I told her, I said, you have to eat before you take your medication, so why don't you have something to eat at 7, take your medication, and then at 10 o'clock you can turn it up. But you have to allow yourself that time for the medication to get in your system and to begin to help you. So she came back in, and 3 months later, she was undetectable, and her CD4 count had risen. So it was successful, you know. Yeah. And then I just have one other story about a client. I was just walking through the waiting area of the clinic, and he said to me, he said, hi, do you remember me? And I said, no, I don't. I said, but what is your name? And he told me his name, and he looked very sick. He was very sick. I said, look, I want you to wait right here. You going to see the doctor? He said, yeah. I said, don't leave until I come back up. So I ran downstairs, and I put him in the system, and I pulled his information up, and his CD4 count was 3, which was really sad. And his viral load was over 400,000. So I went upstairs, and I waited for him to come out of the doctor's office, and I took him downstairs, and we began to talk. And I asked him, I said, what's going on, and why are you not taking your meds? And he went on to tell me that he had been released from the hospital like almost 3 weeks earlier, and he had had pneumonia. And I asked him, why isn't he taking his meds? But instead of addressing that, he just began to tell me all of these horrible things that had happened to him. And then he told me, you know, just a lot of unfortunate things, a lot of sad stories. But he said, you know, when I was in the hospital, they had given me my last rites, and they said, you know, it was a good chance that I wasn't going to make it, and I was very sick. And he said, what I told him was, y'all give me a blanket because it's real cold here, and turn the lights out. And he said, I just imagined I was going to go to sleep, and it would be it. And he said, I welcome death. He said, I'm just tired of this. He talked about all of the things he had been through, and he said, and it's been 7 years. He said, can you imagine 7 years living like this? I said, well, you know, 17 years ago they told me I was HIV positive. He said, you kidding? He said, I don't believe it. I said, yeah. So we talked, and I ended up encouraging him, and I referred him to therapy, and it took about 4 or 5 months, but at the 5th month mark, he came in. He had been taking his meds, and he was doing so much better. He was talking about going to school and getting a job, and he was sitting across the desk, and we was just talking, and I said to him, I said, you look really good today. He said, thank you. And he just kept on talking. I said, did I tell you look good today? He said, yeah. I said, I can't believe it. You don't look anything like the man that came to this office 5 months ago, because he looked very sick. And the turnaround was amazing. And I seen him in the grocery store a couple of weeks ago, and I usually don't speak to my clients because I don't want everybody to know that Robin Thomas is a community health educator, and I work in the field of HIV, and you know, I try not to connect with people unless they connect with me. But he saw me in the grocery store, and he waved, and I just nodded my head, and he came over, and he said, Miss Robin, you gonna act like you don't know me? I said, and I am so excited every time I see him because I really didn't think he was going to make it, you know. And it was just talking and therapy and encouraging. And what he said to me eventually was, he said, if you could live like that after 17 years of being diagnosed, he said, you give me hope. And so I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this great program that helps a lot of people out of care, and some people who probably wouldn't survive HIV, but what we always tell them is it's not a death sentence anymore.
Thank you so much, Robin. thank you all three of you for sharing your stories, for giving us hope, for reminding us why we need to move as fast as possible to solve some of these very big social problems. I think your stories will be with us for quite a long time. I want to thank you all.